Hello and welcome to another video. In this video, we'll actually cover how we can decouple the science code from engineering code, as the title suggests. So let's get right into it. So the main highlight of this video is going to be a PyTorch library called PyTorch Lightning. So first of all, the introduction. So here is the link to my Twitter account, so you can follow me there if you want some occasional updates. So first of all, this is a weights and biases report. The link is in description. So I use weights and biases for tracking my experiments, and writing reports is quite easy, so I'm using that for this video. Okay, and here is the link to Colab, so you can just follow along with the code in real time if you want. So here it is. I'm just get rid of this, and I guess the font size is big enough. Yeah, so let me just get into it. So first we need to install PyTorch Lightning, and it's quite simple to install using pip install PyTorch Lightning. So PyTorch Lightning comes built in with native support for weights and biases logger, that is won't be logger. We'll use that to log our metrics, and we'll automatically track the performance of various models with combinations of hyperparameters. So we'll import first of all PyTorch Lightning SPL, and PyTorch Lightning supports various loggers, and we are going to use won't be logger. So we'll import won't be logger from PyTorch loggers. So let's create our first Lightning class. So now the essence of this video. Why do we need to separate engineering code from science code or research code? So research often involves editing the boilerplate code with new experimental variations. Most of the errors get introduced into the code base due to this tinkering process. PyTorch Lightning significantly reduces the boilerplate code by providing definite code structures for defining and training models. So what happens is, when you tinker with code, let's just say you are trying to add a new feature or trying to experiment with some mathematical optimization and stuff like that, well, you often experiment with some parts of code, and you often don't touch other parts of code, such as calculating loss or calculating the accuracy and stuff. But still you end up writing that redundant part of code all the time. So what happens is, as the code becomes large, you might end up introducing a bug even while writing something quite simple. So what PyTorch Lightning does is, it defines modules to do something quite specific, and you don't have to repeat yourself over and over again. So you can focus only on the research code and not on the repetitive code. We'll see how that is done later on. So let's create our class which we will use to train an MNIST dataset. So we'll use MNIST dataset because that was used to demonstrate this example in the official PyTorch Lightning example. So we'll define a Lightning MNIST classifier module, and that will extend pl.lightning module. So just as to implement a neural network in PyTorch, we have to extend or import from torch.nn module. To implement a neural network in PyTorch Lightning, we'll import the class pl.lightning module. In the constructor, we'll define 3 fully connected layers. So nothing fancy going on over here, it's just simple fully connected layers. So as you can see here, everything except the base class imported, everything else is pretty much same as the original PyTorch code would be. Now in PyTorch, data loading can be done anywhere in your main training file, but in PyTorch Lightning, data loading is done in 3 specific methods. So as I've told before, PyTorch Lightning breaks down codes into modules. So data loading is done in 3 modules. The first one is data loader, second validation data loader, the third is test data loader. There is a 4th method meant for data preparation and downloading. So that method is called prepare data. So if you want to download or extract some data that is pre-processing before even loading the data, that can be done in prepare data method. So you have to define these methods if you want to do anything related to data pre-processing. Okay. So now let's see how to do that in code. So I have just written minimal code over here. So if you want to get the exact code, you have to just follow along in this Colab repository. Right. So this is the entire code, but I'll just tell you the essence what's going on here. So in the prepare data set, in prepare data function, what we will do is we'll basically download the MNIST dataset using Torch Vision library. So if you want to see the full version, just downloading, we have this function here that downloads the MNIST both train and test set, and we have imported this from the Torch Vision dataset. So it's basically vanilla PyTorch. Now train data loader will basically return the data loader that is the data loader for the train set. The same thing will be done by the validation data loader, and again the same thing will be done by the test data loader. The optimizer code is same for the Lightning, except it is added to the function configure optimizer. So basically we need a function called configure optimizer that will return your desired optimizer. So here it is in this file. So we have, okay, first of all let me just quickly cover what's happening over here. It's basically simple vanilla PyTorch forward function. It is a loss function, and we'll cover these functions later on. Prepare dataset we have already covered, and here configure optimizer is basically returning our desired optimizer, which is Adam in this case. Okay, now finally the training part. So if we consider traditional PyTorch training pipeline, we'll need to implement loops for epochs, iterate the mini batches, perform feed forward pass for each mini batch, compute the loss, perform backprop for each batch, and then finally update the gradients. So we have to do all of these tasks manually, right? To do the same thing in PyTorch Lightning, we pull out some main part of the training loop and the validation loop into three main functions. We basically modulate the entire program. We divide the things into modules, and the rest of the things is taken care of by the library itself. We just have to take care of these three functions: training step, validation step, and validation end. So let's just see what are the prototypes of these functions. So the prototype of these functions are supposed to be something. The training step function takes the train batch and the batch ID. Validation step takes validation batch and batch ID, and validation end takes the outputs, and the outputs are the outputs of the validation step. Basically validation end is called every time this function returns something. Basically every time this function validation step executes once. So let's see how this executes. So let's see the definition. Okay, so here it is. Training step. Basically we get the training batch, we perform feed forward, we calculate the cross entropy loss, and then we'll just create a dictionary that will contain the training loss in the form of a log, so that we can easily log that automatically using the desired logger. Just remember that we are going to use a 1B logger later on. And we will return a dictionary that will contain the log as well as the loss. The log is nothing but a dictionary that is basically a labeled loss. Again, the same thing with validation loss, and here we won't return the loss itself, we'll just return a dictionary with the validation loss. And the validation end, what we will do is we'll get all the outputs together and we will stack them on top of each other and calculate their mean, and finally we'll use that mean to calculate the average loss, average validation loss, and then we will again return them in the form of a dictionary, enumerated or labeled dictionary, so that we can easily log them. So this is all that is required to perform training, right? We don't need to perform the loops manually. It will be taken care of by PyTorch Lightning itself, and let's see how. Okay, using these functions, PyTorch Lightning will automate the training part of the pipeline. We'll get to that, but before, let's see how PyTorch Lightning easily integrates with weights and biases to track experiments and create visualizations that you can monitor from anywhere. So let's just see how it integrates. So let's just say that you wanted to track a model performance, how training or validation loss decreases over time. So you can see here, I've got this visualization using weights and biases by tracking model performance. We'll see how that's done in code. It just takes one line of code, and it produces such interactive visualizations. So let's just see how it's done. So the first step is you just import the logger that we have already imported. So here I have instantiated a logger with the name of the optimizer used, the batch size, as well as the activation, as well as the learning rate. So it includes all of these things, and the project name is PyTorch Lightning. And by the way, this is the project page right here. I've opened it. So it contains all the comparisons of all the runs, all of the runs that I have performed, and it's compared side by side all of them. So as you can see, all of the runs are compared side by side. So it is very interactive. It is a training loss visualization, validation loss visualization, and it also performs some automatic visualizations, that is the GPU usage, power usage. If you want the details about any of those things, you can get them as well. So it is really interactive. Now let's just see how do we train this model, how it eliminates the use of repetitive code. We'll just instantiate the PyTorch Lightning class. We'll just call model.prepareData in order to download the data. Then we'll call train data loader, and then we'll create a trainer. Trainer can be created by passing these arguments, that is the maximum number of epochs, as well as if you want any logger. So we are using weights and biases logger to automatically log the arguments, to automatically log the performance of the model onto this dashboard right here on the cloud. So we'll just pass in this instantiated logger, that is the 1B logger. And then finally, we just have to call this method trainer.fit and pass in the model. That is it. You don't need to write any other fancy training loops. Now what it will do is, it will automatically visualize this, the run on this page. Right? Now if you run this multiple times using multiple loggers, using multiple different settings, different hyperparameters, it will log multiple times. That is what I have done here. So as you can see, there are multiple runs on the left side. So I have run this program multiple times, and that's why it has multiple runs. So this is how I've got this visualizations. Now let's see what other things you can do with this and how this compares with vanilla PyTorch code. So as you can see, here's an example of multiple runs. So I have created various loggers using different different optimizers, batch sizes, and learning rates. And here's what I have got. Here is one example of a visualization comparing training loss as well as validation loss. So you can see these are interactive visualizations right here. Now it also supports early stopping. Lightning also supports early stoppings. Now there are two methods. In the first method, you can basically set early stop callback to true. It will look for validation loss. Once it stops reducing, it will automatically end. So basically you just have to set that parameter in trainer to true, and that is it. Now the second step is a bit more complex. What you have to do is you have to create an early stopping callback object, and you have to pass in the value that you have to monitor, the minimum delta, that is the change, and you have to pass in the patience, the number of epochs that you have to wait, and all of these things, and then you have to pass that object in the trainer. So you have both of these methods, but again these methods, both of them basically take just 1 or 2 lines of code. But you have to do the same thing manually in PyTorch. That would take again multiple lines of code. So that is why it is recommended to use this PyTorch Lightning. Again, the effects of early stopping. So let's just see how we can utilize the visualizations to see the effects of early stopping. So here is an example. I have used early stopping in one, and I have not used early stopping in other run. So as you can see, early stopping stops once the loss stops reducing, but the other program just keeps on running until the maximum epoch is reached. So as you can see, it just wastes the resource. Again, 16-bit precision is also supported by PyTorch Lightning. You just need to install NVIDIA Apex. And by the way, 16-bit precision comes in handy when you have to implement large NLP model these days, and also some of the computer vision models, but I generally use it for large BERT models. 16-bit precision is really a lifesaver when it comes to that. So to implement 16-bit precision, you just have to pass this parameter, that is precision is equal to 16 and amp level is equal to 0. Again, you can utilize visualizations to see the difference of 16-bit versus 32-bit precision on loss and GPU memory utilization. Now, multi-GPU training is also supported by default in PyTorch Lightning. You just have to define the way of data parallelism and the number of GPUs. So there are 4 ways of data parallelism. The data parallel, which is the distributed backend DP, that is the one that I stick to. And then there is distributed data parallel 2, and the TPUs, which is something new. And then you just have to pass GPUs 1. I am using 1 because I am using Colab. That's why I just have 1 GPU, and you just have to pass in the backend. So I am using DP, and that is it. You can again utilize multiple GPU training in just 1 line of code. So multi GPU loss and baseline loss is same here because I am using this only one GPU, so there is no difference here. But again, if you wanted to visualize that, you could have by using these visualizations automatically. Now saving and loading models is quite simple. So you can just utilize save checkpoint and then save the model on weights and biases, and then restore from weights and biases and load from checkpoint using PyTorch Lightning. Now let's just compare that same training process with vanilla PyTorch. So I've just omitted the creation of the model, which again would require a few lines of code, so again it would increase the length. Now here we have first defined the optimizer, then the loss function, then the training loop. Here is for the training batch, here the backward pass, the gradient of the back propagation, and the gradient updates, the validation loop, and all of this is manually done, and we have omitted the need for all of that. We just replaced all of this code with just one line of code, and we also added visualization automatically, and also we added multiple GPU support, 16-bit precision, early stopping, and all of that using just one line of code, nothing more than that. So just think of the amount of code that you would need to add to this vanilla PyTorch to accomplish. And now if you think about doing some scientific experiments, just think of how many bugs you would be prone to introduce into this simple program. So that is why it's better to separate the research code from engineering code, and that is where PyTorch Lightning comes in. So I had a lot of fun working with PyTorch Lightning, and I thought I should make this video. So go ahead and give this a try. And so I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'm working on a lot more exciting content, so stay tuned and thank you.